arc wire next to the electrode. When I turn this on, we should get the NC check line, and after about a 15-second delay, we should go into ignition, open the gas valve, and we will sense a flame off the remote terminal. Enhanced cutoff. Sense the flame, stop the ignition process at the same time. These are things you need to know about each type of board, how it should behave. You can flex and bend and beat and tweak, of course, as you should with all of the open frame boards. That being as opposed to potted boards. Kind of tough to flex and bend those things. Having covered most of the 12-volt DC igniter boards that you're going to run into in the industry, we suddenly come across something brand new, fairly recent, Atwood Products. This board allows a water heater to run on AC or gas or both simultaneously. The board has an extra 4-pin connector on it. It is fused, and it has the standard 6-pin connector. This board can be used with or without this 4-pin connector, so you can test it simply by hooking up to this 6-pin connector, which I've done over here. The way the board is fundamentally designed is it brings 2 switches from 12 volts into this connector and then back out to the thermostat and over here to this side of the board. So when we turn the board on, we're going to go into ignition in about 3 seconds, open the gas valve. If you don't sense a flame, the board is going to go through a 5-second try. It's going to wait for 8 seconds, go through another 5-second try, and a third 5-second try, and then when it locks out after the third try, then you're going to see the check light come on. Otherwise, you don't get to see the check light. We're going into our third try now, or we should be very shortly. There's a third try. After about 5 seconds, we're going to get the check light, and that's the basic functions of the board. Basically, that's it for standard igniter boards. I've set out here some of the boards that are manufactured by Dinosaur Electronics. For standard 12-volt DC igniter boards, we make the small spade, large spade, small post, large post. These 4 boards are electrically identical, but mechanically convenient, because the guy who buys over the counter doesn't want to cut the spark plug lead off a wire and crimp on a spade lug, and he doesn't want to drill a hole to put a small board in where a large board came out, and so forth. So let me get rid of these 3 boards, since they're all electrically identical, and demonstrate the UIBS. All of my igniter boards are delayed fire 3-try circuit boards. That's the way they arrive to you as the customer. Turn it on. On our boards, we have fused the product. We have a troubleshooting indicator light on the board. The board is soldered from the back all the way through to the front to eliminate the flexing and bending and beating intermittent connections. When it goes into ignition, this indicator light goes from green to red. I sense a flame. It stops the ignition process. If we were to let it go through all 3 tries, after 3 tries it's going to lock out. Now, delayed 3-try is great for furnaces, but this board is universal enough to work in furnaces, water heaters, Norcold refrigerators, old Cervell refrigerators, and so forth. In those applications, the boards made by the original manufacturers were almost always an instant fire board. That means when the customer turned on his water heater, The little red light came on for an instant, went off when the board went into ignition and opened the gas valve, and stayed off until the thermostat said the water was hot. Same thing is true of refrigerators. To make these boards totally universal, there is a spot over here on the board that says cut and remove this little jumper wire if you want an instant fire board for water heaters and refrigerators. It does two things. When you cut that jumper, it makes it an instant fire board instead of a 15-second delay. Correction, a 20-second delay. But it also changes the purge cycle between the first and second and the second and third try from 20 seconds to 1 minute. And the reason for that is in water heaters, you move a lot of gas. If the second try comes along before the chamber is evacuated, since it does not have the forced air cooling associated with furnaces, you ignite too soon and you might get that 4th of July effect, and people really don't like that. So what we've done is cut and remove this jumper. It becomes an instant fire board. Now, instant is a relative term, 1, 2, 3 seconds. So when we turn this on, we get the green light, 2 seconds later goes to red, opens the gas valve, we sense a flame. If it didn't ignite on the first try, it's going to wait 1 full minute, try again, another full minute, and try the third time. Okay. Basically, that's the characteristics of all of our standard 12-volt DC igniter boards. Included in the second edition of our tester manual is this little insert. How to test the UIB fan control board. 9 years ago, Dinosaur Electronics came out with a board that shuts the fan off in the furnace instead of blowing cold air and running the battery down. Pretty straightforward board, 3-try, local and remote sense on the same board, and a pair of wires. This board gets installed, you unplug the hot leg of the fan motor from the time delay relay, you hook it to this male spade. You hook this female back to where the fan motor was connected. Now the reason you need this little adapter, which comes with your tester, to test this board is because this board must start the fan motor before it gets power to this terminal. If you get power to this terminal before it starts the fan motor, it's going to sit there deader than a doornail because it's going to think the sales switch is stuck shut. This is our small fan control board with the adapter plugged into it and the wires hooked to the spade lugs. You connect this to the main cable, hook the spark wire to the electrode, and turn on the tester. Now you're going to watch for a couple of effects here. When you first turn this switch on, you're going to get the power. You're not going to get the NC check light or the indicator on the edge of the board for a second, roughly, because the board has to make the decision, is the fan stuck shut? No. Okay, start the fan motor. On, click. Okay? That has to happen. If we didn't have this in here, you would have had power here right away, dead, or you would think it was dead. If you stuck it on a Fenwell tester or anybody else's tester without that adapter, this board is going to register as dead. And we know because we get a lot of them back for that reason. Sense a flame because it's opened the valve and gone into ignition? Fine. This tells you exactly how to test this board and what to expect. And it says, if you let this board go through all 3 ignition tries, 1 minute after the 3rd try fails to sense a flame. In other words, you let it go through the 3 tries without messing with this, okay? 1 minute after the 3rd try, it's going to remove the power from the fan motor, and that's the way it's going to sit until someone resets the thermostat, waits for the time delay relay to reset, and turns it back up. That's how the fan board should behave. Well, don't you know? It was another good idea because along comes Suburban and Hydroflame, both with boards manufactured by, you guessed it, Fenwal Corporation. And these boards have fan control relays on them. Naturally, they made these boards so they were not compatible with the Dinosaur board. As a result of that, as of May 2003, we have discontinued the small and the large fan boards, but we still supply this with the tester because you're going to run into them. In order to test these boards, you need the new adapter that we call the Suburban fan adapter. Plugs into this tester just like the original. Hook it up, tester, connector. And we will go through what you have to do to this to make it work properly. I've attached the Suburban fan test adapter to the Atwood Hydroflame fan control board. I'm using that one because it has a couple of features that the Suburban board does not have. Mainly a little indicator light to be used for analysis of failure problems. The switch on the adapter functions as the thermostat. So when I turn the tester on, I get nothing up here until such time as I turn the thermostat on, get a short delay, the relay clicks, I get the NC light. That says I've got power to the board. After X number of seconds, we're going to go into ignition, open the gas valve, and I could at that point sense a flame. It's a local sense board. It's also a 3-try board. Now, if we waited long enough, if we left the flame sense off, this is going to go through 3 tries. At the end of the 3rd try, this indicator light is going to flash 3 times, and this information is all printed on the motor housing in the furnace. It says, single flash 3-second intervals, this particular failure. If you have 3 flashes at 3-second intervals, it's tried 3 times to light the gas and failed to sense a flame. What have we gone through? 2 tries, 3 tries. That must be the 2nd try. Okay. At the end of this next try, we will not sense a flame. We'll watch this little indicator light and it should go blink, 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 pause, blink, 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 pause. And it tells you that you've tried 3 times to light the gas. And there's your indicator. After a period of time that is approximately 3 minutes, this board is going to shut the fan motor off. The Suburban fan board functions very much the same way, except it doesn't have the indicator light. Because Suburban / Hydroflame / Atwood / whoever have now come out with